எப்படி நடக்குது? மக்களுக்கு எல்லா உண்மையும் தெரியும். மக்கள் எல்லாத்தையும் பார்த்துக்கிட்டு இருக்கிறாங்க. கருவறைச்சி இருந்த அந்த மக்கள் அந்த உண்மையெல்லாம் வெளியில் சொல்லும்போது எனக்கு கடவுள் நேரில் வந்து இறங்கி அந்த உண்மைகள்லாம் சொல்கிற மாதிரி எனக்கு தோணுச்சு. சீக்கிரமே எல்லா உண்மைகளும் வெளியில் வரும்.
And joining us now is India Today's Pramod Madhav. Pramod, do tell us what is TVK planning now, because earlier Vijay had said that he would be going to Tirupati and he wanted peace, and it seems now they have decided for at least 2 weeks they will not be holding any rallies. So they have said it is a temporary suspension, but is it a possibility that it could be extended later as well?
Well, Anjali, they had planned, Tamil Vetrikadagam has planned in such a manner that they wanted to conduct all the campaigns on Saturdays, every consecutive Saturday for the past 2-3. I mean, they were coming up 2 months at least to make sure that Vijay said that this was decided to make sure that it will be conducted on a holiday, but like there won't be any problem for the public. But unfortunately, a major problem, a major tragedy occurred where 41 people died in Karur, and this is the reason now the TVK has decided to go on ahead and postpone the campaigns for the next 2 weeks, which means this coming up Saturday, which was supposed to be in Ranipet and Vellore, and the next week as well. So like this will be rescheduled once again post the issues they are facing in the court as well, because two of the major leaders of Tamil Vetrikadagam, that is Bussi Anand and CTR Nirmal Kumar, there are affairs against them. They are named as accused number 2 and accused number 3 in what happened in Karur. So they have to face the court. They have to face the charges as well. And another Anand Arjuna, he's also facing cases right now.
Right.
That's the reason such a decision has been taken, Nancy.
Thank you, Pramod, for all those details. President Vladimir Putin is going to be visiting India soon. So President Vladimir Putin of Russia will be in India in December for the 23rd India-Russia summit. The likely dates of his visit could be 5th and 6th of December. This would be first India visit of President Putin after the Ukraine war. Joining us now is India Today Global's Pranay Upadhyay. Pranay, how important is this visit?
It is going to be a very significant visit, Anjali, because Russian President Vladimir Putin, who will be visiting India for the 23rd India-Russia summit. You know that India and Russia has this arrangement of organizing the annual summit, and for that, Russian President will be in Delhi, most likely, on 5th and 6th of December. But this is, as you rightly pointed it out, this would be happening. This visit will be his first visit after the Russia-Ukraine conflict began, and what India is facing right now is because we are buying the Russian oil. So from the energy security point of view, this visit is going to be important. And ahead of this visit, the Russian side has already indicated that Russia wants to have more military ties with India. Russia has also offered to sell the Su-57, the 5th generation fighter aircraft, along with the proposal of Make in India as well. So this is going to be a very important and a very significant, visit of Russian President Vladimir Putin in terms of the regional security, in terms of the regional dynamics, as well as the geopolitical equation.
Right. Thank you, Pranay, for all those details. And now let's go across to Sakshi Batra of This Is Today with all the updates of markets. Sakshi, over to you.
Good afternoon and welcome to Market Closing on our brand new collab show between Business Today and India Today Television. I'm Sakshi Batra and it's 3 p.m. where we get you all the market closing action. Let's first take a look at what's hot in the world of corporate as well as the financial space. After 8 sessions of losses, bulls are bouncing back. Sensex is 700 points, hitting the 81,000 mark. The Nifty is up 240 points, nearing 24,850. Strong buying is being seen in banking, media, as well as pharma stocks. Auto majors are driving in the fast lane as in September we've seen robust sales. Tata Motors sales were up 12%, M&M sales jumping 16%, Hyundai raising about 10% in sales, and Escort Kubota also reporting about 49% jump in the tractor sales as well. Festive demand as well as GST cuts have driven the momentum. Tata Motors and Escort stocks also lead the rally. Big news on RCB's stake sale buzz. Sources have told Business Today Television that Diageo is seeking $2 billion for the franchise, with Adar Poonawalla leading the talks. Deal size could be at least 35 times the revenues. United Spirits has clarified it will not comment on speculation. The stock, however, is up by 2%. Reserve Bank of India acknowledges the impact of Trump tariffs in its monetary policy despite raising the GDP growth estimates for the full fiscal year. Says the second half of the year and beyond will see slower growth due to trade risks. The central bank also recognizes the impact of GST rate cuts, lower inflation estimate by 0.5%. RBI also unveils major reforms to make it easier for NRIs to invest, trade and for remitting the funds as well. FEMA and ECB rules have been simplified with investment caps in Indian companies raised for NRIs. Key measures include internationalization of the rupee by expanding its usage in global trade and providing NRIs with greater access to digital payment systems. Let's straight away look at the breaking news this hour. Cabinet has approved a 3% dearness allowance hike for government employees. This is for the central governments, as sources have told us, as well as central government employees are now going to be getting a 3% DA raise. That's a big news coming in for them. There's also a news coverage as far as the MSP is concerned. The MSP hike for the Rabi crops has also been cleared by the cabinet. What we're also given to understand is that 11,000 crore rupees, a 6-year mission for self-reliance in pulses, is being thought about. Cabinet moves are towards boosting the pulse production nationwide. Those are the two big news points that are coming in from the cabinet at this point in time. A dearness allowance hike of 3% for central government employees, and the MSP hike for Rabi crops has been cleared by the cabinet as well. We'll straight away look at now welcoming our guest on board and looking at the markets now and come back to this news a little later. The Nifty is on course to now end that 8 days of a losing streak that we recorded up until yesterday. Look at the Nifty. A smart rally and a bounce back has come in. 0.8% of a move on the higher side. It's at the day's high, led by the banking names. Look at the Nifty Bank. That's up by 1.3% in trade today. Across the board, several sectors are supporting this momentum. Financial services, media stocks, private banks, pharma, realty. There is a bull trend across the board. We're also looking at a lot of stocks that are buzzing in smart in trade today. Shriram Finance, Tata Motors, Adani Enterprises, Kotak Mahindra Bank, Sun Pharma among the top gainers on the Nifty. Whereas the laggards include Bajaj Finance, Ultratech Cement, State Bank of India, Tata Steel and Bajaj Auto. But definitely the mood is bullish after a long haul on the day one of the October FNO series. Viewers, remember, we've already had 2 series of losses. September ended with just minor gain of 110 odd points on the Nifty. And we're starting off October, which has rather been historically a positive one, a bullish one for the markets as well, because there's a lot of festive spirit that also comes into the D Street as well. Let's actually go across to our guest now and welcome Mr. Sudip Bandyopadhyay, the chairman of Tata Capital, who's joining in on the program. Warm welcome to you, Sudip ji. Good to have you with us and to welcome you on day one of the October series that started on a positive note. We've had the RBI policy, a dovish policy, despite no rate cut this time around, but definitely talking about some room going forward from here, and the auto sales that are reflecting the GST cut demand boost. How are you looking at the markets at this stage?
Good afternoon, Sakshi. I think you put it absolutely right. The RBI policy acted as a trigger for the market. We were expecting that RBI policy can rejuvenate the market, and that's exactly what happened. Though there was no cut as far as the benchmark rates are concerned, but the dovish tone and the relaxation given on multiple fronts, particularly related to capital market acquisition and things like that, actually kick-started the rally today. Market has been waiting to hear some good news for quite some time. And I think this announcement of RBI acted as a trigger. Also remember, market was heavily short. some amount of reversal, some amount of short covering was expected. And when trigger was required, and RBI provided that trigger. Beyond that, I would also definitely mention that, as you rightly said, the festive season has set in. From today onwards, we'll get to see business updates and the sales numbers coming in, and I suspect some of them will be pretty positive and even better than expectations. The auto sales numbers will be surprising us. And leave aside the 15-20 day between the GST cut announcement and implementation. But if you leave that period aside, I think we will get to see a good set of numbers. Also, we are just beginning of the festive season. This continues till end December, and I think the rally should start gathering momentum very soon. Of course, there are global uncertainties and global issues which we need to intermittently counter. And FIIs have been selling. We have to keep that in mind. So while the rally will be propelled by domestic factors, we have to be cognizant of the global news flow.
Absolutely. Let's also find out what top economists of the country are looking at when it comes to the takeaways from the RBI policy. Remember, a status quo for the second time in a row is what we've seen from the RBI. The repo rate that stands at 5.5%, a unanimous decision on that front, but an improvement on the growth forecast for FY26 to 6.8%, and of course, a reduction in the CPI forecast for inflation as well. I earlier spoke to economists Aditi Nair and Madan Sabnavis to find out what could be the next course. Will there be another rate cut that we can expect in the upcoming December policy now? Let's listen into what they had to say.
So FY26 GDP 6.5%, inflation 2.6%. FY27 GDP wide range, anywhere between 6 and 7%, depending on how different policies pan out, especially how the tariff situation evolves for services, and CPI inflation in the range of 4 to 4.5%.
For next year, we're still looking at GDP growth 6.5 to 7% because I think the worst of the tariffs will be behind us, and that should be a case of growth going into the higher mode. Inflation, to my mind, will remain in the 4.5 to 5% range because if you look at it, traditionally, India has been a 4.5 to 5% inflation country. Anything less than that has been more a case of chance. So I don't really bet on inflation remaining at low levels for a very long period of time. But just one thing I'd like to bring to your attention is that while we are all quite happy about what the RBI has done, but if you look at the bond market, the 10-year yield, to my mind, hasn't really moved. It still remains at 6.60. So the market doesn't seem to be too much enthused. Maybe the market is not looking at another rate cut. Maybe they were looking at some definite steps to be taken for on liquidity, whereas the RBI has said that the CRR is still to work out and it's banking on the earlier measures which it's taken. But a bond market definitely has been fairly impervious to this particular policy.
In other decisions, a part of the other commentary that came in from the RBI ahead of the biggest ever IPO for this 2025 year, with $5 billion of deals, the Reserve Bank of India has now raised the IPO financing limit for individuals from 10 lakh rupees to 25 lakh rupees. The announcement was made by Governor Sanjay Malhotra, and in the central bank's monetary policy statement itself, the governor has also proposed removing the regulatory ceiling on lending against listed debt securities and raising the limit for bank lending against shares from 20 lakh rupees to 1 crore rupees. And this change is expected to help the high net worth individuals or HNIs to apply for larger amounts in public offerings as well. And these steps are part of the 5 measures that were aimed at enhancing the flow of the credit. And among them, we've also seen the governor also proposing creating an enabling framework for Indian banks to finance acquisitions by domestic corporates as well. Apart from the other measures that were announced, the Reserve Bank of India has also now launched sweeping reforms to boost NRI investment and to ease cross-border funds flow. These new rules will simplify foreign investment, expand the rupee usage in trade, and also extend digital payments for millions of Indians abroad. With higher investment caps and with flexible remittance norms as well, the NRIs as well as the global investors can now connect with Indian markets like never before. Let's actually go back to our conversation with Sudeep Ji to try and understand what some of these broader measures really mean for our economy and for the markets at large as well. Well, beyond the policy repo rate decision, this time around, the governor's focus and the MPC's focus has also been one to ensure there is adequate capital flow for the banks as well. There's also been an announcement on IPO financing, enhancing the limit for HNIs to invest there. And apart from that, there have also been norms on increasing remittances for NRIs. How are you looking at all of these statements, sir?
Well, a couple of things I think is very clear. This was a long overdue, because these limits, original limits which have been today increased, were set long back, and they definitely needed upgradation. The markets have moved, the world has moved, and the values have moved. So this was necessary. Also, I must say that, the government, RBI, SEBI, all of them have been talking about kind of curbing the speculation in the market. And, FNO is what, particularly options, is what they are wary about. And I think this move by RBI will actually encourage delivery-based buying, which also is the objective of the regulators and the government. So I think they are in the right direction, and it was a step which was necessary. The increasing the credit also was necessary, because there has been some challenges in terms of credit growth not coming. So I think these are good measures. Let's look at the measure of acquisition financing being allowed. This was not allowed, and for some strange reason, for a very, very long time, I don't recollect when or ever if it was allowed by the central bank in India. But it is a market tool, and globally this is allowed. So Indian companies were using international sources to kind of go and acquire companies, where Indian banks were losing out the opportunity. Of course, this doesn't mean that they will overnight start financing, but I think it will take a little time. But eventually, this is one more tool in the hands of efficient banks to increase their lending and gain incremental revenue. And this was they were losing out. Indian corporates were inconvenienced because Indian banks were not allowed to do this. So I think these are steps in the right direction. Long overdue, I would say.
Absolutely. Let's dip into another big breaking that's coming in right now, viewers. As far as the GST collections are concerned, for the month of September, the GST collection has risen by 9.1% on a year-on-year basis. The GST, the goods and services tax revenues, have now hit 1.89 lakh crore rupees in September. Remember, this is also the fastest GST growth in the last 4 months, as we have seen. This is also the 9th consecutive month of high GST collections, as we have been seeing. So September has recorded 1.89 lakh crore rupees of GST revenues. This is a jump of 9.1% on a year-on-year basis as well. Well, good news definitely pouring in for the government as well, as collections continue to improve despite the cuts that have been rolled out, and this should encourage the government on the steps that they have been taking. Sudeep ji, how would you look at this number that's actually come in on the GST collection as well? There was initial some sort of a fear that the GST rate cuts could actually impact collections, but this seems to be a big good news that's coming in.
Well, undoubtedly, I think this is this kind of removes the concern and the worry that the collections will come down because of the rate rationalization, and that's not happened. In fact, Sakshi, if you see historically, whenever the GST rationalization has happened, GST rates have been streamlined, the collection after that has only gone ahead and increased. And this has been proved for the last 7 years since the GST introduction. So I think this is a development in the right direction. The states who had concern that their revenues will fall post this rationalization, that also has been taken care of with these figures. And I'm sure when we see the October numbers and November numbers, they will be even better.
Okay, got that. In fact, when we're talking about the festive demand that's been pushed by GST 2.0 reforms, they have actually revved up even the September auto sales numbers. In fact, Tata Motors has raced to number 2 spot in the retail passenger vehicle sales, overtaking Mahindra & Mahindra and even Hyundai as well. And that's according to the Vahan data that we're given to understand. Mahindra, on the other hand, has clocked in its highest ever monthly domestic sales. Hyundai has also reported record SUV numbers, and MG Motor has posted strong double-digit growth as well. With me now is our colleague Chetan Bhutani with more details on the same as well. Chetan, do give us an understanding of how the numbers are coming in, who is leading the way when it comes to the sales, especially given the GST 2.0 boost this festive season.
Well, Sakshi, the top care auto sector rally continues as far as the sales is concerned. As per Vahan data, Tata Motors has become official in the number 2 slot in the passenger vehicle sales with 40,068 units, overpowering Hyundai at 37,000. In fact, Mahindra has also hit its highest 56,233 units sales. However, interesting units coming over Hyundai as well, with 70,347 units being sold, with a 10% growth of year on year. However, Hyundai has also mentioned that the Creta saw its highest ever sales of about 18,861 units in a month. However, Venue, which is a small SUV, also clocked its highest ever growth, selling nearly 11,800 units in a month. So clearly, the demand for small SUVs and of course the big SUVs remain. In fact, MG Motors, who saw a huge amount of rate cuts from 50,000 to 350,000 rupees in its various segments, saw a 34% year-on-year growth to 6,728 units. So clearly, until up to the run-up to Diwali, we are seeing a lot of pent-up demand post-GST. And of course, when deliveries start to happen, we'll see more robust sales coming over.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot, Chetan, for getting us all of that interesting update on the auto sales. So, Deepji, now your top choice. It's difficult to choose because most of the companies are now reporting that they have recorded robust sales for this month of September, especially led by the last 9 days, 8 days of a move of the festive season. In fact, for M&M, that pre-announced the GST cuts even before the cuts had rolled out. How would you look at all of these companies, and what would your top choice or maybe the pecking order be in terms of auto companies now?
Well, M&M has been our choice for quite some time. Even before GST rationalization, we have been recommending M&M to our customers. It continues to remain our top choice. Beyond GST, I think the tractor business is picking up, and it's picking up in a big way. SUV, they have clearly reinvented themselves. Their EV, business also is moving in the right direction. So I think M&M definitely is worth looking at, even at current level, if you are a long-term investor. The other company which I will definitely recommend from a long-term hold and buy is Maruti. I think they have been suffering for quite some time because there were a challenge in the demand for low-end vehicles. I think that has gone away with income improving in the hands of rural India and urban India, as well as this GST rationalization. Where the company took advantage of that and even introduced newer models, reduced prices further to boost sales. And the results are there for everybody to see. They got demand and orders of something which is unprecedented even in Maruti's history. So yes, and it's a fantastic company, obviously with 40% plus market share, fantastic network. So if you want to remain invested, I think Maruti is a good stock to buy and invest. Other than that, I think, we like auto ancillaries.
Yes, auto ancillaries also. So any top choice there, Sudeep? Auto ancillaries?
Well, we definitely like ancillary because I think they also cater to the EV segment apart from ICE segment.
Yes.
And their component per vehicle increases in the EV. So Samvardhana Motherson, which has got a global presence, Uno Minda, Sona, Comstar. I think all these are good companies, and from a long-term investment point of view, they do merit attention.
Sure. So M&M, Maruti from the frontline OEMs, and of course, when we look at the auto ancillaries, Samvardhan Motherson, Uno Minda, those are some of the names that you could definitely be looking at. Another big news that's actually coming in is on RCB stake sale as well. That's according to the sources. Global Spirits major Diageo, the parent company of United Spirits and the owner of the IPL franchise RCB, Royal Challengers Bangalore, has initiated the process to sell its stake in the team, seeking a valuation of around $2 billion, and that's about 17,500 crores. The company is said to be evaluating the interest from potential buyers, including from Serum Institute's owner, Adar Poonawalla. Joining me with more details on this is my colleague Krishna Gopalan. Krishna, help us understand. This is going to be big news.
Indeed, Sakshi, and this is the second transaction we're going to see in the IPL after Gujarat Titans sold out to Torrent. So obviously there's a huge amount of interest in IPL. Even at the most conservative level, if we take Royal Challengers revenue for FY25, it is about 500 crores, which means at 70,000 crores, it's 35x multiple of top line. So we're speaking of very serious numbers. The interesting part is the team won the IPL for the first time this year. So it's probably fair to assume that valuation spike in that sense has been helped by the victory this year. And it's a fantastic franchise. There are a couple of challenges, interesting challenges, if I may say so, given that Vijay Mallya began this franchise as a way to beat the advertising hurdle in the industry. But if Diageo decides to sell this brand out to other whoever that is, the brand name obviously will have to change because Royal Challenge is a brand that remains with Diageo. So how they go about that process will be interesting. But given where the IPL is, I think it just sends the trend in terms of a mature industry where now big ticket transactions are happening. So I think to that extent, how Adar Punawara goes about it with his 50% stake in Dharma Productions will be interesting to watch.
Absolutely. Well, diversification on the top of mind as far as Adar Punawala is concerned. Thanks a lot, Krishna, for giving us all that update. Coming back to Sudeep, how are you looking at this news from the point of view of those investors who have, huge interest in the liquor space, especially in United Spirits? What would this deal mean for them?
Well, I think it definitely makes sense for United Spirits. They need to encash and move out sometime. Yes, they can get the branding benefits by associating their brand by paying a fee or some other measure. They need not continue to own RCB, and it's an absolute opportune time because RCB, there was multiple jokes in the entire cricketing fraternity that RCB has never ever won the tournament. First time they won the tournament, and this is probably the right time for them to look at an exit.
But this news comes after the last one victory that we actually saw after a long haul. So this one is going to be lucky.
Right. Absolutely. So this is the right time for them to look at exit if they're contemplating that, and I'm sure they're doing that. As far as Poonawalla group is concerned, I think they will get multiple benefits by associating. I'm sure there'll be other bidders. So I think it's a very fair transaction, and it's good because once this transaction happens, the benchmarks will be established for multiple other franchises. And we'll see probably reflection on Sun TV valuation, which owns SRH. We'll see, multiple other repercussions of this valuation on other companies which own other, IPL franchises.
Fantastic. So this is one development that we will definitely keep an eye out on. But apart from the secondary market, viewers, there's a lot of action that's also taking place in the primary market. India's biggest IPO of 2025 is going to be coming in soon. Tata Capital is all set to raise about 15,500 crore rupees, marking the first Tata Group IPO since 2023. The IPO also comes with a price band of 310 to 326 rupees per share. My colleague Kaba Bakaya had an exclusive conversation with Rajiv Sabharwal, the MD and the CEO of Tata Capital, on the IPO as well as on the company's future outlook and expansion plans. Let's listen in to what he had to say.
Which of these segments will you prioritize? I mean, as you said, you'll track where you feel the opportunity is building, but do you already perhaps have a sense of what perhaps you'll be looking at focusing on more post-IPO with some of the new capital?
So our strategy is not to have one hero product. We want to have multiple hero products, and that is what we are trying to do, and that's what we have done. In terms of the largest book, housing is the largest book because this is the asset we are most comfortable with. Close to about 1/3 of our book will come from our housing finance company. The other assets which will be large for us will be SME and consumer. We do believe that each of these segments have huge potential to grow in India, and we want to be there, expanding our reach, building our digital capabilities further to take advantage of this India growth story.
All right, let's quickly also look at how the markets are going to be shutting shop now. A minute to go before the markets end. Of course, we are looking at the day's high end today, almost 1% higher at 24,848 coming in, just toggling with that 24,850 odd mark, 239 points higher in trade for the Nifty. Let's also look at the Nifty Bank, that's also up by 1.4% odd. A smart rally with volumes that was seen throughout the course of the day. A lot of other sectors that pulled up in trade included media, the private banks, the financial services up on your screens. Also pharma index that rallied in trade, even the realty and even the broader markets, the mid and small caps that also pulled up in trade as well. Look at the media stocks, 3.5% of a rally that has actually been coming in onto this space as well. Look at pharma, that was up by 1.3%. Let's also look at the top gainers towards the end of the session today. It's Tata Motors that leads the rally today. Among the top movers, you can actually see other names also coming in. Shriram Finance, you have Adani Enterprises, Kotak Mahindra Bank, also pulling up in trade is Trent and also Sun Pharma. Anywhere between 3 to 5.5% kind of a move is what is being seen. Especially Tata Motors is going to be giving a lot of viewers a sigh of relief, 717. This has been one stock that has definitely tested a lot of patience, but let's see whether things turn around for the better now. On the laggards front, you have Bajaj Finance as the top loser today, down by 1.6%. You have SBI and Ultratech Cement as well. Among those losers, about 0.8% of a drag that actually can be seen on this one. 3:30, and you see the markets frozen at 24,854. So we managed to pull up above 24,850 mark towards the end of the session. So that's good news. 243 bulls coming back on street completely. Sudeep ji, help us understand now two things. One is Tata Capital. As among those IPO opportunities that are coming in, how would you really look at that? And of course, the markets, secondary markets versus primary markets. Where do you see the opportunities now?
Well, I think as far as Tata Capital is concerned, it is a good IPO if you are a long-term investor. Look, it's a steady, stable company with asset quality, which is probably best in class. They have always maintained good quality asset, except the time when they merged Tata Motor Finance with them, and asset quality kind of got disturbed for some time, but things have improved since then. And but the return on equity, return on capital, and the margins are much lower compared to many other competitors in the industry, because they've chosen to be very conservative and lend in a conservative manner, which is low yielding, and thus the returns are lower. But from an investment point of view, if you're a long-term investor, there is absolutely no problem in going for Tata Capital. That's our advice. As far as between IPO and secondary market, I think opportunities exist, Shakshi, in both these segments. You have to pick up stocks based on valuation. I think I keep telling this, that valuation is the most critical. What value you are picking up a stock, that will determine how much money you make or don't make. Also, we keep saying that the valuations are not cheap, whether it's a primary or secondary market. So if you are getting into the market now from an investment point of view, give it some time. You have to keep about a year marked for this investment of yours.
Fantastic. Let's also now shift focus and try and get you to listen to, another top voice from the D Street. Speaking at the India Today conclave, Mr. Ashish Kumar Chauhan, the MD and the CEO of NSE, has actually raised some concerns over day trading. He's cautioned that it isn't productive and has also urged traders to channel their energy into entrepreneurship instead. Let's take a look at what he had to say.
Today, with changes in technology coming so fast and waves of technology coming fast, it has come to a stage where you require very little money to create new business. And that business can actually make huge amounts, like we have seen with Nandan Nilekani, Narayan Murthy creating billions out of nowhere by not putting too much money. And then came many waves of people in last were all the Swiggy and Zomato boys who became billionaires, because it's not that they had a lot of money to put in. Little money, a lot of hard work, a lot of brains, a lot of exposure, and you can make more money, right? And for me, on the same answer to your question, that I would suggest all the day traders might like to become entrepreneurs and do something positive and productive, because the day trading is clearly not productive. It is going to lose money for everyone. And that is true with derivatives also. If you are not capable to understand derivatives, or do not have the ability to handle those shocks which can come with the losses, you rather stay away from that activity.
Well, with that, it's a wrap on the Business Today show. But before we leave, remember, 2025 truly belongs to the Badshah of Bollywood. After winning his long-awaited national award, Shah Rukh Khan has now entered the Billionaires Club with a staggering 12,490 crore rupees, topping the Bollywood rich list in the M3M Hurun India rich list of 2025. But it's not just SRK making the headlines. The new age wealth creators are here too. You have Zepto's 22-year-old Kalaivela Vora, as well as 23-year-old Adit Palicha. They are also among the youngest entrants on the list, according to the Hurun report. And at the very top, there are familiar names that continue. You have Mukesh Ambani leading with 9.55 lakh crore rupees of a wealth, closely chased by Gautam Adani at 8.15 lakh crore rupees. Also, for the first time ever, Roshni Nadar Malhotra breaks into the top three, becoming India's richest woman with 2.84 lakh crore rupees as per the M3M Hurun India rich list. And with that, it's a wrap right here. Viewers, thank you so much for joining in. Tomorrow, enjoy the Dussehra holiday for the stock markets as well. We'll be back for action on Friday.
Moto G96 5G. All eyes on you.